Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm Billy,
I'm Bridget.
and this is Sibling Rivalry Sports. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe down below. Be greatly appreciated. Let's get right to it. We're 15 games into the season for the Kings, and honestly, they're right about where I expected them to be. About a 500 team, plus or minus one or two games. That's how I expect them to be throughout the whole year. Like I said from the beginning, 44 to 46 wins a year. Uh, so this start doesn't really surprise me much. How about you?
So our first episode right before the season began, we looked at the first 10 games. Both predicted 5-5. They ended up being 6-4. We said if they were going to be 6-4, we'd both be happy and surprised, and like we would take that as a win. Um, but they have had a couple of kind of heartbreaking losses since then that I know have you said took away from them having that 6-4 start. For me, I'm still super optimistic because we all know they've had some serious injuries with Derozan and Sabonis, and of course Monk being out. And those are three of their best four players. So tomorrow night we get to see Sabonis and Derozan come back. I think obviously that's going to make a huge difference. Um, I think the bench hasn't been as good as we hoped they would
Yeah,
be. Obviously, like I think Kevin Huerter still kind of finding his rhythm, finding his way back, but I'm actually not complaining about his play so far this season. I think he's been um, kind of what I expect offensively, but he's been showing a lot of hustle on defense, which last year he was terrible on defense. Um,
he's able to.
it's not
His
so
height is
painful.
coming through on defense. He's able
Yeah,
to
it's
get a
not so
lot of
painful to
tips.
watch him this year. So
Yeah,
I'm withholding criticism of Herder for the time being, and um, I'm still sticking by my 50 win estimate because the predictions because I think they're putting it together. They're in a position now where I think they're really putting it together. I love obviously what we're seeing from De'Aaron Fox.
yeah, he's stepped it up.
Just
He's kicked it up
all-star play.
again. Yeah,
Um, if you want to talk about what he did last weekend, because that's pretty special
yeah, the 60 points. He put the team on his back and tried to take over that game and just fell short. But
in
it was just
overtime.
like he just put the switch on and was like, all right, we're doing
Well,
it.
what impressed me just as much as that, though, was that he came back the next night and had another, what would have been his career high game at 49
Yeah.
points the
So it
very
was like
next day.
back to back, just like I thought for sure
So
he was gonna get like 20 points because it was second night back to back. He had played so much. So it's like,
the
okay,
game had gone into overtime the first
yeah.
night. So extra tired, had extra playing time that night. But I think him coming back and having such a strong game the next day um, just shows really what he's capable of. And like you said, he already knew he was nice, but
Yeah.
and we knew it, but he hasn't necessarily shown it so much in the past. We know that he's an all-star caliber player, and I think he's really stepping into that role. I think potentially DeRozan being out encouraged Fox to step up and be like, you know what, I'm the one that needs to go out and get these points tonight. And I mean, I hope he keeps that coming because if he is playing at that level and we have
Yeah.
Sabonis and DeRozan on the floor, they're going to be really tough to beat offensively.
I think what's changed for Fox is he's not settling so much for that three. He's
Yeah.
driving to the hole a whole lot more. I think their goal is like 25 paint touches a game or something for him. The assistant gave him. So he's real. You can see it. He's driving. He's not settling for that three. He'll take it, but he's not. He was shooting like 10 to 20 or 10 to 12 shots a game from the 3 point range. It's like that's not your game. Like if it's there,
Yeah.
it's there. But it's still the whistle he does not get. He's constantly getting hit, and
Doesn't.
there's no fouls. It's like, and then on the other end, someone barely gets touched, and there's a whistle. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, Risay had posted a picture because she's sitting front and center, of course, and
Yeah,
that last I think it was the last possession of that last game they
the
lost
Hawks
to
game.
Atlanta. She posted a picture of the ref standing right in between her and Fox, who had the ball, and the player defending him's hand literally on Fox's wrist.
Yeah. And then
I
the
think he
press
addressed that with the
conference.
media
Yeah.
too. He
He's
said,
like, hands part of the ball when
an
you want it.
extension of the ball
Yeah.
when it's convenient. And it seems to be convenient a lot for
Yeah.
when he's the one getting fouled,
And
for his
honestly,
hands the extension of the ball, because
it couldn't have worked out better for him in a way that he's going off right now and getting all this that kind of pub with his shoe coming out here
yeah,
in like a week or so.
yeah.
It's like
Hopefully that gives
perfect
him the
timing.
extra motivation to keep his name in the news,
Yeah.
name trending with his
But
shoe coming out.
let's be honest though, that game though against the Hawks should not come down to that last play. I
I mean,
believe at one point
it
they were up by
shouldn't,
like
and
10 or 11 points.
it did take like a Herculean effort from Keon Ellis too, who, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I'm a huge fan of Keon Ellis. He was on fire that night,
first half,
but
the second
yeah,
half, he didn't make as much.
he didn't. But he's also not used to getting that many minutes.
Well, and that's the other problem with
We
this.
had too many. We have too many players injured in that game. That's what really hurt us, I think, was the injuries to Sabonis, Monk, and Derozan.
Yeah. Well, and then
I
that's
think if two of those three were on the floor, that game would have been a blowout. The Kings could have easily won.
well the problem, but that brings me to the other problem that I kind of mentioned earlier. The starters are playing way too many minutes. Four of the five starters are averaging over 36, almost 37 minutes a game. And you have to think like DeRozan's what, 36? Like, are all these minutes affecting his back? Is that part of the reason why he's having like a back issue? Is because he's having to play so much? Because he's
Yeah,
known
he's
to
35.
play. Yeah, he's known to play a lot of games.
Yeah, and
And
stay healthy.
yeah, and now all of a sudden he's hurt and it's his back, and backs are tricky. And it's the same thing with Sabonis. He's got a hurt back. So is this going to linger? Like, you just don't know with backs.
Yeah. But they're both coming back tomorrow night, so we'll get a chance to see if, what their playing form is, and if they're back at 100%. I mean, hopefully they are. Still no news on Monk and his return.
It looks like
But
he was
obviously
back at
he's coming off the bench. If
he
we're
was back
talking
at
about,
practice too, but it was non-contact.
yeah, okay. So, I mean, he's a big piece, and I mean, to your point with the starters playing so much, I think part of that is um still, I think, Coach Brown trying to figure out what he's got on the bench, what what cards to pull and win. And um, we've seen Doug McDermott in a little bit. Um
Like
we've
Robinson.
seen McLaughlin in,
Yeah,
and he's had some high points, but I think we're just starting to see him get some solid playing time,
yeah.
especially with Monk being out. So the bench is where we had a lot of kind of those changes throughout the off season. We were hoping, I think, for more changes to the starting lineup. We mostly just saw that change with DeMar DeRozan coming in.
Yeah.
Um, and
Can we talk about the
yeah, I
elephant
think,
in the room? Keegan Murray's play. Like, it's bad.
yeah,
It's almost at the level of Kevin Huerter last year.
yeah, I agree.
Like, he gets it and he shoots it, and I honestly I don't have any confidence. He'll shoot it and I'm like, oh no.
And he's not shooting with confidence either, because he's getting wide open looks
Yeah.
too. He's getting some really clean looks.
And
And
even ones that he made, he like banked it in. It's like, that's not good. And
yeah,
now he's hesitating on shooting, which makes it even worse because he hesitates wide open three, allows the defender to get on him. Now he has to drive and make a harder shot.
yeah. Yeah, Keegan's been tough to watch this year. I think he's that player for the last couple seasons. We've been saying, oh, it's his time to take a step up. We see him elevate his gameplay. And I think for a lot of the season last year, we chalked it up to, well, we're asking him to do so much on defense. it's, it's hurting his offense, and hoping that this would be the season that he was able to put it all together. And that's not what we're seeing this
Yeah.
year, because he looks worse this year than he did last year.
And
So
last
I'm
game
not sure what's going on there.
last game may have been possibly the worst. Fouled
Yeah.
out in like the start of the fourth, only had 7 points, and shot 33% from the field. Like, you can't have that on the court.
Right.
And it's like, and as you said, Keon Ellis, he played well. He made 9 threes, but I think over half of those were in the first half. When it came down to crunch time, he tends to always pump fake and not sure if he should shoot it, and he's hesitant.
Yeah. Or
And it's like,
defer to
yeah,
Fox.
and it's like you can't have that in crunch time. You have to be for sure and shoot it. Like, that's why Monk is so good. He knows, he's like, okay, I'm shooting.
Yeah, he's confident.
Yeah,
Well, and to that point, Ellis doesn't play a lot of the final minutes of the game usually. Usually that is Monk's role, but with him being out, Ellis had to step up quite a bit in those games. So
and that's also why I don't
getting
think.
more playing time. He's not used to being there in those final minutes and having to take those critical shots. And I think, yeah, we definitely saw that a little bit
And
against Atlanta.
even before Atlanta, like, he was scoring like 0 points, 3 points. It's like, and to me, that's why he cannot be in the starting lineup. Yeah, he's good defensively, but he's just not a scorer, so they can just sag off of him if he's not going to shoot. And therefore, you're playing kind of like the Warriors, 4-on-5 on offense.
Yeah. I think for me, the kind of upside with Keon is that he's so young. I think he's got time to continue to develop his shot and develop his game, where we do see those flashes like the game against Atlanta, where he's making shots, being really confident. If we could see more of that, and I think he has the potential to deliver that more consistently based on what we saw at the end of the season last year, I think he's got that potential. I have hope for Keon Ellis. I'm losing hope for Keegan Murray.
Then,
That's what's hard. It's a tough pill to swallow,
yeah,
but we're into the season 3 right now of hoping that he's going to develop. And I think in the little bit we've seen of Keon Ellis, he's shown his ability to hustle, his passion for the game, and his ability to grow as a player. And I'm not seeing that spark from Keegan Murray. It's been pretty deflating.
but here's the one problem also with Keon. He's another small guard.
Right.
And that's why I've always preached you can't have Keon and Fox both starting.
And to that point, we have Devin Carter, who's yet to make an appearance in the season. And
he's
so
also a small guard.
Yeah. So what?
So, like, all these
What
people
else
saying,
is he going to
just
bring to
wait.
the team?
All these people saying, oh, just wait till Devin Carter comes back. Just wait till Devin Carter plays. It's like, okay, but where's his minutes going to come from?
I mean, if he's able to hold his own, which we don't know yet because we haven't seen him play in an NBA game, at least maybe that would help give Fox or possibly Derozan some more time to rest on the bench and give them, a chance to catch their breath more often.
Because he's only
But we don't know what he's capable of.
He's only 6'2", so he doesn't really fix their problems late in games when it comes to getting rebounds. Because that's their whole problem. Late game rebounds. They still cannot get. They don't have any.
That is one area Keegan has, I think, been doing well. He's been getting rebounds.
But because that's the problem. He's the only one, because if he's like in foul trouble, the reason why they had to play him, they had nobody else who could take over that role.
Yeah.
Which I think they were hoping Doug McDermott would be able to kind of help. But he's an older player. He's not going to be able to take that defensive style that Keegan does. And it's been the problem for 2 years now. They just don't have that stretch 4 that can do somewhat of what Keegan can do. So his fall off has really been shown because there's no one else to pick it up.
Yeah, one player I've been really happy with off the bench, and I've been a fan of his since 2 seasons ago in postseason when we were playing the Warriors, is Alex Len.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic. Last season, I think he was up there in the league in terms of plus minus with his minutes on the floor and how much he's able to produce
Yeah.
on the floor. And not that he's a huge scorer, but just defensively, I think he's good. And he's a smart player.
Yeah.
So I
He's
think what
real
I've
good.
seen more from him this year is him actually being involved in the playmaking, and not so much like kind of stepping back into like a role player
Yeah. He's
mode.
real
I
good
think
in
he's playing really confidently.
stretches, like burst of stretch, like 5
Yeah.
to 6 minutes. You don't want him out there for like 15 minutes, 12 minutes.
No, but when he's out there,
Good
he
stretches.
doesn't
Yeah.
count.
He's like
He,
you
he
know
makes
he's
his
out there.
presence known on the
Yeah.
floor.
He's a big body. He altered shots. They have to go up and over him. They have to try to go around him. It's not just an easy layup.
Right.
And
And he and Fox have been playing really well together.
yeah. Well, Lynn and Monk have a connection too.
Yeah.
On their pick and roll, Monk always knows when to go for it, toss it to him, let him get the dunk and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now,
Can't wait to get Monk back.
yeah. Now tomorrow, how we're talking about the Kings are supposed to get Sabonis and Derozan back. To me, the big thing is the Lakers are going to be without Norman Powell.
The Clippers.
The Clippers, not Lakers. Yeah, Clippers. Because Norman Powell,
That other team in Los Angeles.
Norman Powell lights up the Kings. And I don't know if you remember, I sent you and Mom a text message. Watch Powell 30 points tonight.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. He ended up, I think, with 31. And it's because he's somewhat big. I think like 6'5", 6'6", but he's an outside shooter, 3-point shooter. And the Kings, they still struggle with
their rim protection,
guarding the three. And people, like during our last pod, we talked about Kings not shooting well or stopping the three. Well, it's continued on into the regular season. They're, for the first, I think, 10 games, they were last in the league in 3-point shooting. And it's like, that's terrible. Like and they did a thing to where if they were just middle of the pack, they would have only had like 3 losses.
Yeah.
I will say on the bright side, last I saw, they were top in the league in free throw percentage.
They are this year. A lot of that is thanks to DeMar DeRozan. Yeah. I think Fox has been better. He just doesn't get to the line as often.
Yeah.
Speaking to what we discussed, him just not getting those foul calls. But DeMar DeRozan, he gets the whistle blown and he delivers at the foul line. So that's been good to see.
It feels weird having a player on the Kings that can actually get to the free throw line almost at will.
Yeah.
Like he'll pump fake, guy jumps, he jumps into him. All right, free throw.
And what I've loved to see with DeMar DeRozan is even while he's been sitting sidelines with this injury, he has shown passion for this team. Yeah. You can tell he's not sitting back on his phone. He is engaged in the game. He is, maybe not as animated as Malik Monk is, which I love about Malik Monk, but DeRozan is invested in this team. So you love to see that.
I don't know if anyone can be as energetic as Malik Monk.
Yeah, I love when the camera cuts to him after a big shot because you know that he's on his feet.
On the sidelines, like he's playing.
The announcers after the that game where De'Aaron Fox got 49 after the game in his post-game interview, the first question they asked is Monk giving you a hard time for not hitting 50?
Yeah, and then he said him, Monk, and I want to say it was Trey Lyles, were giving him a hard time about missing the free throws.
Yeah.
The late free throws that would have sealed it.
Yeah. But, I mean, again, I'm encouraged about De'Aaron Fox, and the way he's been playing, obviously, is just off the charts. I'm encouraged by what we saw when we got our big three on the court, and coming off of a preseason where they won 0 games in preseason, for me, with the injuries we've had, I, you know, I'm not surprised that their record is what it is. But I do have a lot of kind of hope and optimism for where this season could go.
We'll see. So they're next to end November. They play tomorrow against the Clippers, then Sunday against the Nets, then Monday against the Thunder. So they got the Thunder and then the T-Wolves almost Monday, Wednesday. Those two are going to be tough. And then,
Yeah.
then they close out against the Trailblazers. So honestly, if we're honestly speaking, I think they'll probably go 2-3.
I'll say 3-2.
Because I think they should beat the Nets and the Trailblazers. I think they lose to the Thunder and the T-Wolves.
T-Wolves, yeah. So, see, they've already played the Timberwolves twice this
And
year.
lost twice in Sacramento.
Once in overtime.
Loss is still.
And so I think with Sabonis and Derozan healthy, I think they'll win against the Timberwolves this year. I think that'll be the one that tips me.
The first game of the year,
back
they
to-
had those two guys.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying I don't think with the team we have, if they're healthy, we're going to lose to them 3 times in a row. I think their numbers coming up. I think the Kings are going to win that game.
Oh, let me see something. I want to see if it's like a back-to-back for the T-Wolves. Let's see. It's the 27th.
Yeah, it's on the 27th.
Yeah, it's a back-to-back. They play the Rockets the night before.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, the Kings typically, for some odd reason, for like the last 2 years, when teams on the back-to-back, it looks like the Kings are on the back-to-back.
Yeah, last season especially, they seemed to play down to the level of the team the level of their opponent. I think they're a different team this season. I'm seeing some good things. The kind of disappointment for me has been from the bench. But I think they're figuring it out. I think we're gonna find, as the season progresses, Coach Brown's gonna learn when to pull the right numbers and get his rotations, figured out. My biggest kind of key for this season so far, though, is we can't have a super successful season with Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, and Trey Lyles all having bad games.
Yeah.
One of them at least needs to have a solid game. I'm talking 16 to 20 points for us to be able to win, because we can't depend solely on our big three. Even with Monk in that mix, one of those 3 needs to have a solid game. And that's, I think, the biggest difference we see in a win versus a loss. If none of those 3 are producing, if all 3 of them are missing shots and having a bad game, which has happened on several occasions already this season, it just doesn't give us a shot to win.
Well, here's their problem. They'll come off with like a big win, and then they follow it up by getting blown out by 10 to 20 points.
Sure.
It's like they can't put back-to-back games together. Like at the start of November, they beat the Hawks by 8, and then they put up a stinker against the Raptors and lose. Raptors have 3 wins this year. And then they beat the Heat last second by Sabonis. Come back, beat the Raptors at home, kind of blew them out. Then a stinker against the Clippers. 9-point loss, but it was
Yeah,
far worse than that. It wasn't
yeah,
even pretty. And then
it
they
was
come back.
competitive.
Yeah, then they come back, beat the Suns in overtime, just took over DeMar and Fox. And then the very next night, a stinker against the Spurs, lose by 20. Like that can't happen. And then they go blow out the Suns, lose to the T Wolves.
That's the overtime game, right?
Yeah, but still, it's like you can't have a game like that and then come back and then, for the most, before Fox took over, that game was ugly. And then they come back, beat the Jazz. Okay, Jazz aren't that great. They stink.
Yeah.
And then you come and you lose to the Hawks at home. And the Hawks just got tore up by the Warriors last night. So it's like you have to find consistency. You can't have one really good game and then the very next game show up and look like a completely different team. So going by that, they'll beat the Clippers and then they'll get blown out against the Nets.
We will find out this weekend.
So let us know what you guys think. Do you guys agree, disagree, think something else that we don't? How do you guys feel about Keegan? Let us know down below. Hit the like and subscribe. See you on the other side. Like the beam.